If the world was ending, these are the doors you'd want to be opening.
This is the nuclear fallout shelter, ARC 2, the largest privately owned fallout shelter in Canada.
Jesse is part of a small team working to maintain the ARC 2 shelter, an underground structure comprised of 42 school buses buried 14 feet into the earth. The buses have been stripped down and the shell has been covered in a thick layer of concrete and reinforced with steel plates. The shelter was built in the 1980s by Bruce Beach, a retired professor and military air traffic controller.
At the time that I built it, and the time that I became interested in building shelters, were back in what we called the Cold War, and a lot of people were concerned about nuclear shelters at that time.
Maintaining a sprawling underground shelter is not easy, but Bruce has set up an arrangement to keep the shelter in good shape.
Oh yeah. So work equity. So you put in time for working on the shelter, and then you're on the list. You're on the priority list for coming in the case of a disaster.
Who's on this list and how many? It's tough to know.
I don't know. I keep trying to get people to come ahead of time and help prepare.
But at the moment, the shelter is not prepared.
So 87 passed and still nothing, and it's like people started relaxing, and I think this place basically, it fell into a bit of disrepair.
As fear of nuclear war waned, so did people's belief the shelter would ever be used, except Bruce.
All of that went away. No one was expecting a nuclear war except Bruce.
Moisture has wreaked havoc on the shelter, but Jesse believes it is still a worthwhile mission.
No, this is very key. I love the fact that this is off the grid, underground. The threat of nuclear war may not be there, but as we know, there are a lot of global threats at hand.
Although COVID-19 is unlikely to send us all underground, provisions have been put in place.
They came out with their new directives, and their new directive says you need to go to a shelter, and in the shelter you need to keep 6 feet apart from everyone.
For Jesse and Bruce, using the shelter is not a matter of if, but when.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an alarmist, but I think a lot of people are tuning out, unfortunately, and maybe it is the alarmist attitude, but I don't think so. I think it's there's just a lot of bad news out there.
We're just on the verge of it. It's on doomsday clock. It's just seconds now before midnight. It's never been so close.
Ayrton Wakfer, reporting for the city.